Good morning and welcome to Passion Week day number 4. This day we're going to be looking at 3 separate passages, but really there's a lot going on this day, this Thursday before Jesus is crucified. And so I want to encourage you right now to go ahead and just read through Matthew 26. There's so much that is happening, and I'm not going to be able to cover it all right here in this video this morning. And so I just encourage you, please take the time to do that. It's going to give you a fuller understanding, a fuller picture of what's going on this day. But we're going to look at those 3 things. And my final encouragement before we start reading here is that what's happening for you this week is a heart that is opening to the Lord, and what's being produced in that heart is awe and love for Jesus, a commitment to Him, a heart that even cries out for the injustice of what happened to Jesus. While God is ultimately just and He gets His justice, what happened here was scandalous. What happened here was a tragic and terrible thing, that we humans would crucify our God on a cross. And so I just pray that this is your heart this week, that your heart is breaking and opening, and what's being produced is more awe and love and devotion and commitment to Christ. And so let's go ahead and jump into our passages for today. The first one comes from Matthew 26 and starts at verse 20. It says, "When it was evening, He reclined at table with the 12. And as they were eating, He said, 'Truly I say to you, one of you will betray me.' And they were very sorrowful and began to say to Him one after another, 'Is it I, Lord?' He answered, 'He who has dipped his hand in the dish with me will betray me. The Son of Man goes as it is written of him, but woe to that man by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It would have been better for that man if he had not been born.' Judas, who would betray Him, answered, 'Is it I, Rabbi?' And He said to him, 'You have said so.'" Okay, and we're going to move to our second passage now this morning. It comes from Matthew 26, verse 36. It says, "Then Jesus went with them to a place called Gethsemane, and He said to His disciples, 'Sit here while I go over there and pray.' And taking with Him Peter and the 2 sons of Zebedee, He began to be sorrowful and troubled. Then He said to them, 'My soul is very sorrowful, even to death. Remain here and watch with me.'" All right, and we're going to move to our final passage, Matthew 26, verse 47. It says, "While He was still speaking, Judas came, one of the 12, and with him a great crowd with swords and clubs from the chief priests and the elders of the people. Now the betrayer had given them a sign, saying, 'The one I will kiss is the man. Seize him.' And he came up to Jesus at once and said, 'Greetings, Rabbi,' and He kissed him. These 3 passages, as we see, the first one where Jesus institutes the Lord's Supper, and to this day we do that in remembrance of Jesus and who He is and what He has done on the cross for us. But here, during the Last Supper, we see that Judas now knows. Jesus is aware of the coming betrayal. Jesus knows. And still, Judas, having darkness in his heart, he continues on with the betrayal, even knowing that Jesus knows what is to come. And what a hard heart that is. What an evil and wicked heart Judas had in order to keep going with betraying his rabbi, knowing that. In our second passage, we see Jesus in agony and sorrow. That just strikes me that Jesus would throw Himself down to the ground and then begin to pray. That isn't some kind of stoic, robotic form of Jesus, right? That is a Jesus that feels and has deep emotions, and He had the greatest agony and sorrow that any man has ever experienced. So He doesn't have less emotion, He has the most emotion. And finally, we see Jesus being arrested in the garden. Judas has finally gone through with the betrayal, and he has stamped it with a kiss. And so there's 3 things I want us to pray over today. Let's look at that together. Number one, a sympathetic and compassionate heart. And my encouragement with this prayer is that you would pray that as you think about what Jesus went through. This is something that should break our heart, that Jesus was in agony and he was tortured and he was betrayed. It should really, really break your heart, which then should lead to such awe and adoration of Jesus. And number two, to think deeply about the agony of Jesus. Think deeply about it. He was in agony, complete pain. It wasn't as though because he is God, he was able to be numb to the pain and numb to the betrayal and numb to the emotional pain and every form of pain possible. No, he was subject to it all. And thirdly, to have a heart of faithful submission to the Father. As Jesus faithfully submitted himself to the Father, that we would want to do the same thing. And so that's my encouragement for you this morning. Would you continue on in your devotion to Christ this week by spending time in the Word, by going deeper into this knowledge of what Jesus has done for you and for me and for all mankind? Let's be encouraged today. Let's, yes, also feel the agony and feel the heaviness of this all, but let's be in joyful adoration of our Lord. He has already risen. We know that. And so let's bring this kind of heart before Jesus this week. I encourage you today, spend time with this kind of prayer. And I even encourage you as well, would you spend this time in fasting? If you didn't have plans already to fast, would you come up with those plans this morning and fast along with me and the Mosaic family? Okay? And so that's it. God bless you. Love you. See you back here tomorrow. Peace.